The good vibes did not continue for the New York Giants on Sunday as they fell to the Detroit Lions 31-18 at MetLife Stadium. Let's chat with New York Post sports columnist Mark Cannizzaro, who joins us from MetLife Stadium. Mark, how's it going? Wasn't an exciting football game for you to watch, but how did you hold up?
Well, I held up a lot better than the Giants' offense, defense, and special teams held up. I can tell you that, Dex. It was an ugly day here at MetLife Stadium. It just, they as Brian Daboll said after the game, nothing was good enough. He said it was not up to standard, and that couldn't have been more succinctly true.
Yeah, couldn't have been. Look, Mark, this was a stinker by the G-Men. The first real lackluster performance, I guess we could say, from this team this season in a game where they were favored to win. So following this loss, is this the first real pressure point for head coach Brian Daboll?
I do think it is. It's a mini crisis. This is a team, that was overachieving. It was a feel-good story. This was supposed to be a total rebuild season for Daboll and Joe Shane. And, this, again, you could make the argument, as I refer to in my column that I just finished writing, you can make the argument that, the Giants won a bunch of games they shouldn't have won earlier in the year, and maybe they were due for a stinker like today. They also lost 5 starters in the game today to injuries and a 6th in Jason Pinnock. You could throw that out there, but the bottom line was there's really no excuses. They just played poorly across the board. They turned the ball over 3 times. They had 8 penalties. Saquon Barkley, was stifled by a run defense of Detroit that was ranked 31st in the league going into the game. So just not really any excuses. I think what we look for now is how Daboll and his locker room respond. They've got a game in 4 days in Dallas against a team that just absolutely wiped out Minnesota this afternoon, which was considered as the quote-unquote one of the better teams in the league with the only one loss. So it's the message from Daboll after the game was to turn the page quickly because they've got a quick turnaround and they just can't dwell on this game. But no excuses.
We're going to get to the Thursday game on Thanksgiving in Dallas. We'll get to that in a second. But you talked about Barkley and the Lions. They have not been good at stopping the run. They shut down Saquon on Sunday. So did the Week 12 loss further expose how one-dimensional Big Blue's offense is?
Well, Dexter, we a lot of us talked leading into this game, including Paul Schwartz, our Giants beat writer, about whether this Giant team can weather a storm when a team shuts down Barkley. Barkley came into this game with 931 yards in 9 games. Can they win a quote-unquote shootout? Detroit came in here with a pretty good offense. So, there was a feeling that they were going to put some points up today, and the Giants were going to have to match that offensive production and intensity, which they obviously didn't. They turned the ball over 3 times. But, Daniel Jones threw for 341 yards, I think it was, at the end of the day. There were a lot of empty yards. It was garbage time kind of yards in the second half when they were down, multiple scores. I thought today was a little bit of an alarming sign to show that when you do shut down their strength, they didn't have an answer, with a passing game. So, yeah, I think that, this raises some red flags without question. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it there. Now, Mark, the Giants, they haven't lost back-to-back games all season. Now they're in a tough spot with having to face the Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. How do you expect this team to respond on Thursday?
I think it's going to be a difficult ask, to be honest with you, Dex. I mean, they lost 5 starters today, including and as well as I mentioned, safety Jason Pinnock, who's a pretty key role player on defense. And Adoree Jackson, and that's a whole other thing. I mean, the fact that he was being used as a punt returner to me was just inexplicable. I don't know. I mean, I think Brian Daboll has pushed every right button this year. That was a wrong button, in my opinion, that he pushed, having Adoree Jackson return punts. And he hurt his knee today returning a punt. And, I'd be hard-pressed to think that he's going to be able to play in 4 days. Wan'Dale Robinson, their terrific young rookie receiver who had a career day today, he was lost late in the game, and he was in pretty good pain. I have a hard time seeing him back. They're starting center John Feliciano suffered a stinger. Whether he's going to be back in 4 days, I don't know. So it's a big ask for the Giants to come back. And as you said, they're in a position where they may lose 2 games in a row. If they do that, they've lost 3 out of 4, with the Seattle game as well a few weeks ago. And now you're in a situation where you got some division games coming up. You got the Eagles twice. This was a game the Giants kind of needed to pick off because it was one they were supposed to win, because they've got some games down the stretch that, maybe they're certainly going to be they're underdogs in. I believe I heard somewhere today that late this afternoon, somebody in the press box was saying that, that 538, and they've got all those metric systems, all the kind of different websites that do the percentages, that the Giants now their percentage chance to make the playoffs would drop to 51% today. If I'm using that, if I'm quoting that correctly, that's pretty alarming for a team that was 7-2 going into the game. So, this was a damaging loss that might hurt them a little bit further down the line than we feel like it did just today.
Got to win the games that you were supposed to win, and those numbers where it comes down to it could be a coin flip to make the playoffs. That's not good. That's not what Giants fans want to hear. That is Mark Cannizzaro, New York Post sports columnist, was at the Giant game on Sunday. Their loss to the Lions. Mark, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Dex.